Hey everyone, welcome to the Unhandled Exception podcast. I'm Dan Clark and this is episode number 83. And today's episode is about the amazing Playwright. And joining me today to chat about the amazing Playwright is also the amazing Debbie O'Brien. So welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you. Amazing. Oh my gosh.
So to introduce you on properly, so Debbie has been an integral part of Playwright as a principal program manager at Microsoft and has led the Playwright community, shaping much of what Playwright has become today, driving features like UI mode and the Playwright MCP server, which are definitely things I'm hoping we're going to be talking about today. She's also a Google Developer Expert, GitHub star. I never know what to say this. Alumni.
Yeah. I had to lose my GitHub star because I joined Microsoft. So then you can't be GitHub star when you're an employee of Microsoft. So that
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And presumably the MVP thing
the
as
MVP
well.
program as well. Exactly. Yeah.
And also a Nuxt Ambassador.
Yes.
Hopefully I got all that right. Is there anything I missed?
Cloud and area media developer expert. But it's like so many. I just stop talking about them all these days.
Fair enough. So before we dig into Playwright, I'm just going to do a few usual reminders for the listeners. So firstly, this podcast has its own Discord community. If you head over to the website unhandledexceptionpodcast.com, you'll see a big Discord link there. I also have a monthly newsletter where I send out handpicked developer news items from the past month. So this includes a dev tip, a dev comic pick, as well as podcast updates about the show. And basically, it's a great way to keep up to date with what's going on in like .NET and AI news. If you want to sign up, there's a subscribe link on the podcast website. And lastly, a quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by Everstack, which is my own company providing software development and consultation services. For more information, visit everstack.com. Right, now we can geek out on Playwright, which I actually use quite a lot and I absolutely love it.
Good.
So just first of all, thank you very, very, very much for all the stuff you've done. It'd be good to, if we, I want to geek out on stuff like the Playwright MCP server and all the kind of like code gen and all of that, even like the UI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be good to do that. But I guess we should really just get over and done with like what is Playwright bit for listeners that haven't.
Do you know what? Actually, I always forget that bit as well. And it's actually now become even more important because more people are testing, because more people are vibe coding, more people are coding. So tests have now become even more important and even more essential. So it is actually important to kind of start from the beginning and say, what is Playwright? So yeah, Playwright is basically a way to test your website. Anything in the browser, so browser based. And what Playwright does is it basically opens up a browser and you write the Playwright test, and it basically automates the process of something that you would want to test. So manually, normally you would manually have tested something by filling out a form and pressing the button and seeing it works. And now you basically write a Playwright test. Playwright will open the browser, fill out the form, click the button. And if it's all green, the test passes, and then you can go home happy. And if it's red, you can fix the code, etc. So that's basically what Playwright is. And it's got there's so many things. I could spend a whole day just talking about why Playwright and everything cool about Playwright, but we can go into all that, in a bit. But yes, Playwright is at the moment the number one testing framework out there for sure. I'm a bit biased, but for sure.
Well, it gets my vote too. So for listeners that have used and heard of things like obviously back in the day, things like, is it still a thing? Selenium or Selenium?
There's a lot of tests still out there. There's a lot of code out there still written in Selenium. Those tests, but I think migrating people are not choosing Selenium, in my opinion, at least, when they can choose Playwright. But there are some tests that people still have to maintain in Selenium. But definitely Playwright is just so much easier. So if you're ever like, well, why would I use Playwright if I already am using Selenium? Because Playwright is much easier to adopt, much easier in every way. And then obviously like all the cool features around it that we're going to talk about today will just basically entice you more into it. And it's just more like, it's just better. It's just better. Sorry, Selenium.
I used Selenium many, many years ago and
it's so hard.
I think it's just all the little things that like the flaky test, the things that cause flaky tests and stuff, which Playwright doesn't seem to suffer from.
Because that's the thing. And that's something I don't always talk about because we just consider it's just works in Playwright, right? It's just out of the box tests work in isolation. You never have to I remember someone saying to me you've got to clean up the test because the previous test, might leak something into the next test. And no, because everything in Playwright starts with a clean browser context. So you have one browser context is whatever happens in that test stays in that test. It never goes into the test. You never have to clean up. And that's kind of cool. And then other things I never talk about, which I totally should, is automatically waits for things for you. So you never, unless obviously you've got a really slow website where you've got something loading so slow and terrible that you've got to add a timeout because it's really bad, your website. But generally, you should never need to write timeouts because it will wait for it to be available on the page and to be clickable. And then it will click the button or whatever the element is. And that's like, tests running in parallel. That's just out of the box. So there's so many features that just out of the box. And obviously it's open source and free. And I also always forget to say that too.
And cross-platform, so it works in all the different things, and browsers and things.
And cross-platform. You see, there's so much. I was like, I need to write a list of all these things for myself.
Recently for a client, we're using Playwright for the newer areas of the code base, the newer websites and things. But for the old code base and the old web apps and things, they're using a platform called Leapwork. And it's a very no-code kind of, very slow, but then you do diagrams of it and basically had loads and loads of tests in that. And I was recently tasked with converting those over to Playwright. And the Playwright code gen stuff was absolutely amazing for that because I could just click through. I was looking at the Leapwork diagrams and then following the same path actually in the browser with the Playwright recording. And then I got the TypeScript output. I did have to tidy it up a little bit, things like, I guess, and there might be an option to get around this, but things like if I clicked on a text box and then filled in the text box, the Playwright code would have the click and then the type in. And they both had the selector, so the click was irrelevant. So I then had to delete a load of the clicks. So there's a bit of a cleanup phase. But apart from that, it just worked.
You see now, Dan, you just basically did what I did, right? And you assume that everyone knows what CodeGen is, right?
That's true. That's true.
I'm going to take it back a step and I'm going to explain. So CodeGen is one of the features we have. And actually, when I first joined, it was CodeGen was the best way to write tests because it basically writes tests for you by you using the website as the user and you clicking through things. So take that form. I always give a form as an example because I hate testing forms. But basically you would click on that form once and fill it out once. And it would basically just write the test code for you. Now, this is the other cool thing. It doesn't matter what language you want. You can just choose. So if it's in TypeScript or if you're in C# or if you're in Java or in Python. So that's the kind of really nice thing about it is you can just go and click. You can ask me to write a test in Java. I don't know Java, but I can write a test in Java because CodeGen's going to write it for me. We did add assertions to it very recently. So now you can also assert things. Is it visible on the page? Does it, have this number, this value, etc.? So that's kind of really cool. But then there are some things that, yes, you do have to go into the code and kind of manually check a few things, improve a little bit things, add a few things. But in general, it's a very good way to get started because you're in control. You're choosing what gets tested and you're seeing the output right there. As you're clicking one line, it's writing that code for you, and you can ensure that code is good code as well. So yeah, CodeGen is a great tool.
You reminded me when you said about assertions, in the browser, there's that, I don't know what you call it, but little toolbar thing with some Playwright stuff on, and one of the buttons is an eye icon or something.
Yes.
And you click on it, and then you click on whatever component you want to assert is there. So say it's a bit of text that you want to assert there, and you click on that, and that gets added, that assertion
to be visible
is added into your code as well. So it's so easy to add those assertions to make sure that an element is there. Really, really nice.
Because if not, you're not testing anything, you're just clicking.
Yes, yeah. I guess leading on to all this kind of my experience with the things we're talking about when I was doing this conversion, the VS Code extension as well.
It's great.
It was amazing. It just linked so well into the stuff we're talking about where I could just put a breakpoint on my tests.
Just run your tests right there in VS Code, have access to everything, picking the locator. It's much better experience. If you're not using the VS Code extension, you totally should.
Yeah, definitely. Even say it was a longer test going through lots of pages, it hits that breakpoint. Then I can turn on record mode and record from that point and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. Record at cursor.
Yeah, exactly. It's an audio-only podcast, but it'd be so good to actually demo this on a video. But I know on your YouTube, you've got lots of videos and things.
I do. I should totally just go back and do a beginner, everything. There's just so many, because everything has improved since I did all the first videos and all these other features have been added. So every time you create a video, then a year later, it's oh, but it's just so much more now.
I'll tell you one thing I didn't, when I was doing this conversion from Leapwork to Playwright, one thing I actually only learnt this morning when I was looking through your blog, it's UI mode.
Yes.
And that would have helped so, as in being able to do this locally, but then change the timeline and go back in a Playwright test and see what happened and things.
Yeah, so UI mode came about when we tried to create like a watch mode. So it was like you wanted to watch your test, you want to see what's going on, but we wanted something more visual, not just in the CLI, because we started off with that and then we experimented a little bit and then UI mode was born. And UI mode is basically giving you all your tests. So there's like a tree on the left side, like a menu with all the tests. So you can see every single one of your tests. And then you have a window there with the browser, so you can actually see what the browser is at that particular moment in time in the test, and you can click between like right now or after the click, etc. So before and after, and then like the whole steps, right? So what happened in each step of the test, which means you can just click on each step and then see the browser change. So what happened in that browser at each point, and then also like down below you have like your dev tools part. That's where your console is, your network requests. You can see at a specific point in time, what were the network requests? What were the console errors? What is the source code? Everything is just there available to you. So it's like a mini Chrome DevTools panel, plus your browser panel, plus all the test steps, plus every single test. You can just like switch between one of them. And then you've got that watch mode, so you can watch those tests, edit them in VS Code or whatever. And then like UI mode is just running and just kind of like updating and showing them. And then there's a lot of other cool things, like you can pop the browser out into another window and then just actually open the actual Chrome DevTools and see, what is going on under the hood, change things, modify it. It's an actual proper, like, browser snapshot. And then the timeline at the top, which you can drag across and back. So if there is animations and stuff, you can kind of see like what's going on, or you can just focus in on a specific area, which is quite nice to do as well. Just like select from, I don't know, this minute in, that minute in, and then just like focus on that, and everything else just gets hidden away a little bit. So it's really complex. There's a lot of things you can do in UI mode. It's really good, but it's a great tool. And I always said like the VS Code extension, we have show browser and show trace view, which is similar to show UI mode, but it's not the same because like you still have two contexts, right? You've got the VS Code where the tree is where all the tests are, and then you've got like the trace of that one test, but only one test. And I always said like, I want to see all the tests. I want UI mode, and VS Code to be more combined. But definitely UI mode is my favorite way of just like running all my tests and seeing them all and then just flicking between them.
So where I said I didn't know about UI mode till today, I've seen a similar kind of thing with, I think that the trace mode thing you talked about, where we're running our pipelines in Azure DevOps.
Yeah.
And then so it saves the test results as an artifact. And I've seen that I can kind of like download that for a failed test, download that artifact. And then I kind of like get a directory full of files. If I load up index.html, when that page opens, it gives me an option to go into trace mode. If I do that, it gives me a command that I've got to run on the command line. And then I run that, and then suddenly I don't know, is that the same as UI mode, where I can actually go backwards and forwards in time?
Yes and no. Like UI mode basically is giving you the watch mode and the tree of all the tests, whereas the trace viewer, it's like almost that UI mode has the trace viewer inside UI mode, if you know what I mean. So UI mode is a little bit more, but the trace viewer is basically what we're using on CI when you're, running those tests, or also from the VS Code extension, you would get the same kind of like that trace viewer. And UI mode then has that trace viewer. So UI mode is just a better version of the trace viewer in the sense of like you can see all your tests and watch them. That's basically, the filtering, etc., which you kind of also have similar in VS Code, but you don't have watch mode in VS Code. So that's the kind of like missing part for me. But yeah, the traces that you have on CI, that same thing. Like you can download that trace of the test, go back in time, see what's going on, see the source code, see the consoles and network, everything, which is really, really helpful for debugging on CI.
That's been a lifesaver, really, because you look at the console logs when you get a test fail or what test failed, and especially with a Playwright test where it could be spanning quite a few pages in the UI.
Mm-hmm.
Actually being able to just download something and run it, and then you can actually get this UI up where you can move forward and backwards in time and find out exactly what happened as time went by. I think that's just been absolutely brilliant.
And then as you're talking about things that happen on CI, and this is kind of like bringing a little bit of AI into it, but this is really important because, what happens when your test fails on CI and you download that trace and you're looking at it going, I don't understand what's going wrong here. And you're reading the trace errors and stuff and you don't understand the errors. There's a little like copy prompt button, right? And you can just click on that copy prompt button, and that copies a prompt that you can send into any LLM, paste it in, and it basically gives the LLM all the information it needs, all the context it needs in order to be able to make a good decision of like what is going on, what is the error. And it's really, really helpful for debugging. So totally recommend that on CI. And also the copy prompt is in UI mode as well. It's in the trace viewer. And in VS Code as well, there's a way for you to fix your tests using AI just by clicking on the little sparkly icon, and it fixes it for you. I mean, it's not like 100% confidence, right? So always keep an eye on things, read through what it was diagnosing, what it's saying, but it's pretty good. So it's really, really good way of getting things done quicker.
And I suppose the workflow, if you're in VS Code using the Playwright extension and using that, and then typically you probably obviously can have Codex as an AI agent in there, but I think most people use GitHub Copilot.
Yep.
You've got that chat window
Yes.
already there to paste that straight in.
You can just click a button. You don't even have to press paste. You can actually just, in VS Code, with the VS Code extension, you can just click on the sparkly icon button and it will just bang, fix it in line even. There's so many options
Nice. So I was trying to I get quite excited about AI and MCPs and things, and I was trying to not jump into that too soon, but now we start talking about AI. The Playwright MCP server, oh my goodness me, that's insane.
It is insane. Now, how do I go about this the right way? What are we talking about, or what are you talking about when you're talking about the MCP server? What are you using it for?
Anything really. So it's kind of I think we should talk about how Playwright probably isn't just for tests as well. It can be used for automation.
Okay. All right. Let's go down that road first, and then let's go back to the testing. So yeah, the Playwright MCP server, what it basically is like a way for the LLM to open a browser and do whatever that you were doing in Playwright when you were writing tests. You're giving that control to the LLM, so the LLM can open that browser, click on that button, and basically use the website. So it's got a lot of good use cases. I mean, I've got some videos where I bought tables on it when, the team were like, that's not a great use case because it's probably a quicker way to buy a table. But I just thought it was cool that you could do it, right? So there are cool things that you can do. But one of the things that I'm using it a lot for right now is when I'm vibe coding. I know people, I vibe code. So when I'm vibe coding and then I kind of give it some instruction that I want it to change this, whatever, this button, this feature, this, whatever on my website, for example, I will then say, verify your work, right? And if it has the tools of the MCP server, how can it verify its work? Well, it can make the changes. It can open up the local dev server and it can actually then see, did it actually put the button in the right place? Did it actually make those changes? Are those changes working? So before it even runs tests, I'm actually basically verifying that the LLM is clever enough to actually do the coding job. And that's using the Playwright MCP server. And I find that really, really useful. I don't think enough people are doing that, but it's so useful. This happens out of the box on the GitHub Copilot CLI when you're using Copilot on CLI with GitHub, the Copilot coding agent. When you assign a task for it and in the background it does that task, it will use Playwright under the hood. It's already built in and it verifies its work by doing it. So I just do that, in my own day-to-day workflows. But that's really cool use case.
I never know with this kind of thing whether we kind of need to take a step back and explain what MCP servers are for listeners in the first place, because we're kind of talking about this and assuming listeners know what...
I know, yeah. MCP is like a year old now. So everybody, if you don't know what an MCP server is, it's time you got on that train. But no, basically MCP servers is a way for the LLMs. And again, we're using LLMs, the large language models. So the way for AI to be able to connect to tools and give it access to tools that it didn't previously have access to. Playwright is an MCP server, so you're giving it access to Playwright to be able to use the tools that Playwright has, which is browser automation and anything that you can do in the browser. So that's one MCP server. There are many MCP servers. GitHub has an MCP server, which means you can actually get the agent to Copilot to basically make a pull request for you. Now, obviously, you could do that through the VS Code extension. You could do that through the CLI, for example, right? But if you're right there in the flow and you're just with the agent just kind of chatting and you just go, oh yeah, cool, create a PO for me, do this. You're just keeping the context the same. But I know people sometimes, also just use the VS Code extension, the CLI. They're just two examples. There are many other MCP servers. For example, you got Context 7 for documentation. So you could just when I was upgrading Nuxt, I just threw in that MCP server and I was go to the Nuxt docs and check what needs to change between Nuxt 3 and Nuxt 4 and how can we, upgrade and make sure it's upgrading right. So you're giving it these tools so the agent can do a better job and you're the one that chooses what the agent should have and shouldn't have when it comes to the tools. So MCP servers, you should all be at least testing them out and playing with them because there are so many cool ones.
And they're so easy to play with as well. There's so many of them now. Playwright is a good example where VS Code has all the tooling to quickly add it in a few clicks, and it's just so easy.
Exactly.
I always describe an MCP server as almost all developers know about APIs, like a web API is. It's like one of those, but for a language model to call, to
Yes.
decide. Obviously, it's the agent that does the calling,
Yes.
but the language model is making the decision to call it, and then the agent tooling calls it. But because you can run them they can be hosted in the cloud somewhere, but they're also very easily run locally in Docker or NPM or something,
Yeah.
then it's just code that the LLM can decide to use.
It's just functions.
Exactly, yeah. The key thing is that each of these tools, these endpoints, for the LLM to call has a description against it in English, and that's how the LLM knows. So when you give a model a requirement, it's got a list of these tools it can call, which has an English description, so the LLM can decide to call it.
I built one, and I've got one on my website. You could totally check it out and follow on. It's a little video tutorial. But I built one for the weather because I just want to ask what the weather is like. And, if you ask that in VS Code to Copilot, it doesn't give you the answer because it doesn't have access. It'll tell you to go to navigate to this URL and go and check it out for yourself. And I don't want to do that. That's extra clicks. What is the weather like? I just want to know, do I need to put a coat on, or do I need to, if people are going to go, just look out the window. But no, I don't know if it's cold outside. Right? So I built one just for the weather, and then I have that little server in there. So you can just totally easily build your own one for whatever that annoying thing that you're always kind of having to go off to a website and do something for. And it's really, really easy to build.
Another thing I didn't know about Chill today, which is quite exciting actually, the Playwright MCP browser extension.
Yes. So there's an extension you can use because a lot of people wanted to basically use the MCP server with different profiles, right? So maybe you have a profile with all your extensions and stuff like that. So you can use the extension to basically have the LLM open up a specific profile of Chrome, right? So it's really helpful you could create a testing one, for example, and you could already be logged in and you could already have all those kind of credentials and stuff done. And then you're basically just able to open up that browser. And then, you're already in a logged in state. You're already in your, Gmail, for example, and you could just totally test out your Gmail account, for example. So it's got a lot of kind of cool things that you can do with that, which is nice.
A bit earlier where I mentioned about using Playwright for not just testing, but for automation and other stuff. When I said just then that when I saw about that MCP browser extension, I found that quite exciting. If I've got you mentioned Gmail or Amazon or something, and I want to just automate a process, whatever the website is, but I don't want to give an LLM or put in code.
Your login.
What are my login details? I just want to, here's a tab I'm already in. I want to automate something happening now.
Yes.
And this sounds like that is the thing I'll be looking for to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I have a video on it, so totally check it out.
I will include links to all of these videos and stuff in the show notes. What else have we got? I guess Playwright Agents. Saw that recently as well, so that was very cool.
So many cool things. All AI, it's the way forward. Come on. So Playwright Agents, I know how the team would like me to talk about it, and I know how I like to talk about it. So it depends on how you want to go under the hood or just say agents. So I'll go under the hood in a second. But basically, with agents, what you're doing is there are 3 agents that we've provided you with. And that is built into the latest version of Playwright, probably the version before the latest version. So if you're on the latest version, you have this. And then you basically run a command, and that gives you the files that are needed for the agents to function. So you don't have to set up anything. You just have to run one npx command, and then everything gets added for you. Then you have the agents available to you. So the 3 agents, the first agent, and these agents can be used one after the other, or you can just choose one agent and just use them independently. So that's up to you, but we give you the 3 of them. So if you're using them one after the other, the first one you would use is the planner. The planner goes to your site and basically plans what it needs to test. This is really, really great. Even if you decide, I don't want to use AI to generate my tests, I want to write all my tests myself. Go ahead, do that. But if you use the planner agent, wow, you get this really cool test plan. You could actually just go, oh my God, I never even thought about testing that. Oh, that's a really good use case. You're getting extra eyes on your code on your website. It's basically what it's doing is it's opening up the browser. It's looking at your DOM. It's looking at everything. It's seeing what's there, and it knows, oh, this is a big menu there. There's a search function. It knows what's there, and it's basically telling you this is what should be tested. So it's really, really cool. It gives you a really nice test plan in Markdown format. Now, once you're happy with that, and you could totally edit that yourself. You could modify that. Actually, before I go forward on that, you can seed your test as well. So you can do your whole logged in state as well. So then the LLM doesn't have to go through that login and doesn't have those credentials. You could totally have that already set up by seeding your test. And you can do, say there's something that you wanted to be copied over and copied into every test. So you want to start from a specific point, some fixtures, some utils and things like that. And you can add also utils in there. So you could say like this function, this util, this one I want to reuse across all my tests, make it available to it. And you're telling the agent, hey, reuse code, use this, which is kind of like similar to like POM. I don't use POM. I use, functions and utilities. So that's one thing. Now we've got our test plan. Then you call the next agent, which is basically the generator. And the generator is going to go and generate tests based off that test plan. Now, this is not magic, and it's not like I'm going to click a button and it's going to generate 100 tests, right? We have context window issues and a lot of things like that with LLMs these days. So I like to kind of take it slowly and say, let's focus on this part of the test plan and just get it to do that part. And then I kind of, go to the next one, which is a little bit of a tedious manual process and takes a bit of time. But oh my God, like compared to writing the test yourself, like you're saving so much time. So what it does when it's generating a test is it opens the browser window and it starts basically running through that, like the way CodeGen, and we used to do it like us doing CodeGen. Now the LLM is like the CodeGen, right? And it's basically open the browser, doing everything, filling everything in, understanding the website, and then, it just writes that test for you. The agent also, checks the log. It has a log tool where it basically is not able to get lost, right? In context and have to, the way like summarizing context, and like it doesn't have to do that because it has a log. So it can basically read through its own log and say, oh yeah, I'm, writing the test. And it uses like this verify tools as well. And that's how the confidence level of the test is so good, because it's verifying that actually is on the page. Before it's even writing the test, it's running a verify tool to check that element verified exists, it is visible on the page, etc. So once we've got like these tests done, our tests are happy, this is great, then we could go ahead and run our test ourselves. Now, if the test passes, perfect, great, nothing to be done. Depending on the complexity of your site, some of the tests will just pass and you're done. Sometimes a test will fail. And when it does, then you've got the third agent, the healer agent, which again, you could totally just use on all the tests you've already built yourself. You could just use healer. And healer is really cool because healer is so fast at running the tests, but it's also able to debug a test. So it's actually able to stop in time and debug that test in that particular moment. And that's how it's really, really, really good at doing the job of ensuring that the test can be fixed, because it's got the right tools for it. It's got the debug, and then it's basically taking looking at the DOM snapshot, running through everything, and it's able to read the network requests, the console logs. There's a tool there to be able to read those. So it can kind of say, oh, I did call the network request, that API did return everything. That looks good. And then this is the really important and really cool thing. It's not just going to fix the test. If it cannot fix the test because it's decided there's a network error, there's something wrong in your code, it will just put a fix me. And it will say, I believe there's something wrong with your application code. You need to go check this out. And it puts it back on you. So now your tests are going to pass, and this one test is going to be a skip me. The agent has finished its job, and it's now back on you to actually go ahead, rather than just like, oh yeah, I deleted everything and now the test passes. It doesn't do that. And that's cool, because that was the biggest problem that I've heard through every person talking about AI writing tests and fixing tests. It deletes things and then like does a terrible job. Our healer agent is impressive. It's like, you should totally try it out. So that's the 3 agents. I know I'm talking a lot, so interrupt me if you want to at any moment. But I want to be very clear with people that basically what this is doing, or what the agents are doing, it's running an MCP server under the hood. And the reason I say this is because I spoke to a couple of companies who were like, oh, now we need to go and ask for permission to use agents. And agents is a scary word. And it's like, oh, agents are going to like, I don't know, do things they shouldn't do. And it's like, no, it's just an MCP server with tools. And basically the agent, and you'll see it when you run that npx command, it gives you that agent MD file, which previously were chat mode files in VS Code. So you can actually go into VS Code, you can read that agent file. And this is something really cool that, we don't talk about because it's not necessary to, because you don't need to do anything, but you totally can if you want to. You could just take that agent file, you could copy, paste it, call it my agent, my Playwright healer, my Playwright, whatever. And then you could like, maybe there's something specifically quirky or weird about the way you do your testing. You could totally add that in, and you could ensure that the agent follows those specific rules, on top of that. Again, I don't really think you should be doing that. I'm telling you that you can. But when we update these versions, that gets updated and yours won't get updated. But I'm just saying there's so many things you can do with it. So yeah, it runs a Playwright test MCP server, which is different to the Playwright MCP server. So if you don't have the Playwright MCP server installed, don't worry. You don't need to do anything. You can just run the agents and they'll work. If you do have the Playwright MCP server installed and you think you have access to agents, you don't. You need to actually run the npx command to actually use them and run them, and forget the other MCP server. You don't even need to activate that because there are similar tool calling, but it's different MCP servers.
Oh, I see. So I've got two. I agree with you where you said like a lot of people find that with agents this term confusing. And I guess for the listeners that haven't played around in VS Code with, as you say, they used to be called chat modes, but now they're called custom agents. So for the listeners, in the chat window where you've got the drop down at the bottom and you can choose ask, edit, agent mode, a new custom agent, as you mentioned, it's just a markdown file, but it adds another entry to that and you can call it whatever you want. So am I right that installing this npx command will add extra options to that combo box?
Yes, exactly. Yes, correct. And then you can also use it in CLI. So GitHub Copilot CLI, you can use them from there as well.
Does it support Claude Code?
Yes, of course.
Oh, nice. So it can literally just do whatever
You just run a different loop, right? So because you need a little bit different configuration for Claude than VS Code. So you can just basically, it's in the docs, so you can just basically add the open code or Claude or VS Code.
Nice. All of these things, as I said before, when I was doing that Leap work to Playwright migration, I was using AutoGen, but all of this other stuff, I could have been using more stuff.
Yeah, I think migration is now so much easier because of these agents. Like you could totally just, start from the beginning almost, or you could basically like say, right, you could pass into context, like, here's the code base, here's the previous tests. Now go and generate me these tests based on those, or create the test plan based on the tests that have already been created and just like work from it from there. There's no excuse now. Like it's totally, you'll always have to kind of come back and check things. And something I didn't mention as well is every time I'm doing something, I'm always committing my code. So like, if the planner does it, I commit that plan. Then if the generator comes along and generates, I commit those tests that are generated. And then I go along and make those, the healer run. But then I have the git diff properly, right? So always like generate, commit, heal, commit, like just keep committing as often as possible. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think Git is such a powerful tool. It always has been a powerful tool, but in AI,
yeah, even more.
one workflow I quite often have is I would have, depending on what client I'm working with, I would use either GitHub Copilot or Claude Code. But I'm finding I'm in the code a lot less, and I'll be in a chat window with my Git client. I use Git fork, but whatever the client is. And I'm finding I'm alt-tabbing between the actual chat with the LLM, Crux vibe coding, like you mentioned before, and getting it to make changes, then viewing what changes it's made in my Git client, because that's perfect for diffs, and then doing a temporary commit, so I've snapshotted where it's up to, then going back, doing the next stage, and just going backwards and forwards. And I found that just basically leveraging Git to do little snapshots and little steps along the way, so I can review each thing it does. That's just such a powerful workflow.
Yeah.
I know that you've been involved a lot in the Playwright community. Before we move on to talk about the community, is there anything that Playwright features that we've not covered yet?
Oh, there's so many, but I mean, we could spend forever talking about all the cool Playwright features, so it's okay.
I feel bad because I know you've got, I do use Discord, and I know there is a Playwright Discord. And
there is, yeah.
I've been meaning to join and I haven't. So as soon as we get out of this call, I'm going to join the Discord. But can you tell us a bit more about the community around Playwright?
Yeah, so we have a really, really cool community. Discord is one of them. LinkedIn, we have a massive community on LinkedIn. It's impressive the amount. I never ever thought of LinkedIn as building a community, but oh my God, it's like incredible. The Discord server, when we started it, there wasn't really many in there, and we were first Slack, so we moved Slack and brought them all into Discord. So that was a bit of a challenge to kind of like, hey, everyone, yeah, this is going to work. And but we went for it and it was great. We did a lot of kind of, live things on the stage as well, which I found really good because you can bring people up on stage and they were able to ask questions and showcase things. Discord does have some issues where sometimes sharing a screen glitches out and some people can see it and some people can't. And that was really frustrating. So Discord definitely has a problem there that needs fixing. They need to test their stuff. But other than that, inside Discord, we have a videos channel, articles channel where people were sharing their work, what they've done, what they're contributing, and then they're helping each other out. Like I used to be the one and the engineers answering all the questions, and now the community themselves are just helping each other out to an extreme extent that it's a great place of like, if you're stuck and you have a question, just go there, because there's more talented people in there than just asking me. I'm just one person. There's other people who are experiencing those problems firsthand, and they're in there helping out. So that's great. And then LinkedIn, we do like live streams, and they come on into LinkedIn and stuff. And LinkedIn, I guess it's more for sharing content, sharing posts. And there's a lot of really cool people sharing a lot of good posts on LinkedIn. And then we have ambassadors that have created like LinkedIn courses. They're really worth trying out. And some books as well have been written by our ambassadors. So we've got a great ambassador program, people doing amazing things for Playwright.
That sounds really, really cool. As I say, I will join the Discord as soon as we get off this call, but I feel bad I've not joined already, because I think community makes such a difference, especially like you mentioned earlier that Playwright's open source.
Exactly. And free.
That's absolutely incredible. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we move on to dev tips?
No, I think we can move on. I'm obviously we have a lot of videos, so make sure you're watching the YouTube channels and checking up on all the latest releases. And it's really important to update Playwright. Like this is something that people don't know about, is that you're not just updating Playwright to get the latest features, you're also updating the browser version that goes in sync with Chrome's update. So Chrome updates the browser and we update, including the binaries of the new version. So you're always testing on the latest version of Chrome, and it's really important.
Nice. Yeah, I've had it a few times where I've run my tests and it's failed, but given me a command to run to install the latest version.
Exactly.
It helps you along the way.
Yes.
Awesome. So shall we do dev tips then?
Okay, let's go for it. Seeing as we're talking about MCP servers, one thing that I've been playing around with recently is Goose. Have you heard of Goose?
I don't think I have, actually.
It's really cool. So now Goose is under the Linux Foundation. So that was like recent news where Goose was donated, as well as MCP servers is now under Linux Foundation, and Agents MD is now under Linux Foundation. So those three have been donated into the Linux Foundation and under the community. So Goose is basically a really, really cool tool. It's an agent, basically. So you can use it to write code, to do whatever you're doing with kind of all the other agents that you're normally using to write code or do whatever. But one of the things that really surprised me with Goose is, and this is really cool, it's able to do things on your system as well. So it's not just like, in your code base, but it's able to kind of like go into your bash scripts and like put the things in there that you don't want to have to bother doing, right? And opening up those, what do you call those ZSH things? I hate doing those. So I was doing that today and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I have to go in here and, like the Goose has a CLI. So I was downloading that and I hate adding all these things. And I was like, how do I do this? It's not, it's not working. Goose isn't working. And then I'd like ask the agents, like, you're not working. Your CLI is not working in my terminal. I hate terminal stuff. And then it was like, you need to add this echo, this, I don't know, this bash stuff. I can't do those. I don't do those. Where's that file? And it's just like, oh, it just adds it for me. I was like, oh my God, you have access to my system. This is really cool. And I remember this when like they gave me the Windows computer to try out. And it was really frustrating for me to like have to go in and do all these terminal stuff and try and figure all this stuff out. And I said to them, I want a computer that does everything for me, that I just basically say to the agent, configure this for me, add this for me, do this for me. I don't want to do these things myself. I don't want to be running these commands. So yeah, so Goose is great. I've only just started playing with it, but definitely encourage you all to check it out because it is very, very cool. And you can add whatever model you're using. So you could use Gemini, you can use, Copilot, you can use whatever. So it's really, really cool.
Nice. I've just gone to so is it the block/Goose?
Yes, correct.
The README on GitHub has got an attached video saying vibe coding with Goose, and then so I'll watch that later as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one. That's quite good.
I've been trying out so many different ways of vibe coding and all the tools, and it's just nice to switch between different ones and see like what one is doing different to the other and who's better, and nobody's better, right? I don't like to think of anyone better than anyone else. Just every tool has different kind of cool things, so it's good to play around with them all and see what cool things one has.
Claude Opus is better. That is definitely under a better thing.
But that's the model.
Oh yeah, no, I was joking.
It's different. But you can use Claude Opus in Goose or in VS Code or in, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, the context between my comment then was, so I run a .NET user group, and on Tuesday actually we did basically a lightning talk session, and I did one on, basically for years we've used a prize draw app that I just wrote in WPF years and years ago. But so my session was vibe coding a new prize draw app, and I basically I wrote a prompt and threw it at three models via three tools. So Gemini 3, Opus and GPT codecs. And I wanted 3 different tools. So I used VS Code, GitHub Copilot, GitHub Copilot CLI, and Claude Code. So I just wanted to demo 3 different tools and 3 different models. Unfortunately, when with Claude Code, I accidentally had Sonnet 4.5 selected, not Opus.
Okay.
So I set them all off. So basically, I did that, and then someone else did the talk, and then I came back to we looked at the results, and only one of them worked, and none of them looked that good, which I was quite surprised about, because in my trial beforehand they said it worked quite well. And then so we ended up having a break, so I just thought I'm going to change Claude Code to use Opus like intended to see what it came out with.
Yeah.
And it absolutely nailed it. It looked really good. It worked perfectly. So then I went back up and said, I've corrected it and changed Claude Code to use Opus, and this is what it's created. I've not changed anything. This is one shot prompt. And it was just like a really nice UI. It basically was getting, from this one prompt, it was getting all the attendees from Azure Table Storage.
Nice.
And so I told it to do that. Animations, which like a tile-based kind of thing with, the selected, highlighted tile moving around, and it slows down and lands on the winner, then animates out, and then it writes the winner to a file, and all keyboard shortcuts. It was one shot prompt, did all that. And how long would have that taken to actually code manually?
I know. I've been using Gemini 3 lately, and it's been so cool to just if you've seen my website lately, and I'll probably change it. So if you see it now, it might be different. But I basically wanted the hero component to be really cool, but I didn't really know what I wanted. So I asked Gemini to just come up with these things, cool ideas. And it came up with all the ideas, and they were really cool. And I was like, oh my God, go and implement them all. So it now implements them. And every time you refresh the page, I get a new hero. And I actually laughed out loud. It was so funny to kind of see the cool things it did, Matrix style, and just fun animation. I would never have the time to do that. I would just never. This is fun and cool. So yeah, there's so many cool things you can do now as developers. It's really exciting.
Yeah, funnily enough, I've just rewritten my website, vibe coded the whole thing, and then I've stuffed it over, and it's absolutely brilliant.
We can do it every week now. You can literally vibe code every week.
I do have a feature request for your website, though.
Oh, go tell me.
A blog RSS feed.
Oh, yes. Someone else asked me for that as well. I need to do that. Yeah, I think I had it before. And then when I upgraded Nuxt, I deleted it or something, the package. It was a Nuxt module before. So I think I just need to add that back in.
I was looking through your blog post and I was thinking I need to subscribe to this because they're really good.
I've never subscribed to any RSS feed. I never even, you see, I have no analytics on my website. I actually have no idea because I never wanted to do it, because then I'd be stressed out and thinking oh my God, I need to. So I just write blog posts just for myself. I never think that people are actually reading them.
If it helps, I've got analytics on my site and I never look at it. So I don't need to have it in the first place, really.
Exactly. But I'll definitely add that. I will vibe code that in.
Vibe code it. Nice. Yeah, I use a thing called Readwise, and so that's what I do all my reading, so it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, for RSS, I use that as well. But for newsletters... I
never have time to read. I'm more of a YouTube person these days. All the podcasts that are on YouTube, I will totally just watch them while I'm on the treadmill. So reading is hard on a treadmill, but watching and listening to YouTube is easier. But I'm guessing you could basically take... and listen. This is what I want to do with my website as well. That's a feature I want to do, is actually turn all my blog posts into podcasts so that someone can actually just listen to that. And the thing is, I don't know if this is another dev tip, I guess, but I've been playing around with 11 Labs recently. Have you heard of them?
Oh, yeah. So good.
So with 11 Labs, you can basically I can clone my own voice. So then it can be my voice reading the actual blog post, but I don't actually have to go and read it myself. I just clone my voice once and then just basically say, right, here's the blog post, go and do the work. And that's kind of really cool, I think.
So when do we tell the listeners that this isn't actually us talking? Have you used Google, what's it called? Is it just Google LM? No. What's it called? Google Notebook.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Notebook LM. But basically, you can give it various different sources, and it could be articles or attached files or whatever, and you just basically say, create me a podcast from this, and it has two people having a podcast conversation, AI generated.
Oh yeah.
It's scary though how
it is scary, because that's different, right? That's giving you here's some context, give me this so you can learn about it, right? It's kind of a way of making it more interesting. Yeah It is cool. There's a lot of, oh my God, this where is our future going? There's so many cool things that we can do right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the internet. The internet has really positive things and really, like negative things as well. And it's going to be the same for AI. There's going to be amazing, life-changing things, and there's also going to be negative stuff.
I'm just thinking out loud, like a good use case for that podcast thing you were talking about. Like take a blog post of mine on Playwright and take a blog post from somebody on, like, I don't know, Selenium or whatever, or Cypress or something, and then basically create a podcast on, deciding on which is the best one or whatever, right? And you could, like, the AI agent could, like, wouldn't that be so cool?
Let's do it. We'll do it and put it in the show notes.
And see what works.
But I think your idea with the 11 Labs and your things, people listen to that.
Because it's my voice.
It's your voice, but also the actual content is not AI generated.
Yes.
It's genuine. It's you generated it. So even though it's AI generated voice cloned of yours, the actual words itself is your writing. So I think that's kind of different.
Exactly. It's basically helping me get my website more accessible to others by using 11 Labs, which I think is a nice use case for voice.
Cool. So with my dev tip, and this is kind of like, it's not kind of my usual dev tip, and it might not apply to a lot of the listeners because listeners of the podcast are probably playing around with AI. But as I mentioned, so I run a user group, so I speak a lot with different developers in the community, and it does surprise me how many developers haven't played with AI, which is kind of like, we were alluding to that earlier. And
you're in London, right?
Oxford, so
Oxford,
but quite near, yeah.
Like you're not in, like, I don't know, a country that doesn't have enough internet access and things, like, do you know what I mean? Like this.
No. So I think people don't realize how easy it is to play with. And thinking like a technology like, I don't know, Docker, for example, while some people might say, oh, all developers must know Docker, you can be a developer and never have to touch Docker and stuff. But AI is totally different. AI
totally
is changing everything and will change everything. So
AI is not going anywhere.
Like a developer that doesn't use AI now, you're not doing yourself any favors, and it's so easy. My dev tip is, if you've not really just found time to just play with MCP servers, play with AI, try different agents and things, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and just find an hour and just play with it. It's so easy.
I think the problem is, and this is really hard to say to people, go and find an hour and just play with it. They don't know, sometimes they don't know where to start because there's so much, right? And there's so many cool people to follow, so many cool videos to watch. So you can kind of like go, where do you start? And basically like just start small. Start small. So if you're using, and I'm going to use Copilot here as an example, if you're using Copilot in VS Code, just go and use the little first of all, ask the questions. Think of it as having someone by your side, and all those stupid questions that like you're afraid to ask somebody, start using, the agents, the Copilot as your person, as your rubber duck. And you don't have to give it the confidence, like you don't have confidence straight away, so don't worry. So start with ask and basically, ask the question and say, what do you think is a good idea about doing this on the website and blah, blah, blah. How would you implement it? And then read through it and you go, oh my gosh, that's actually a really clever idea. I didn't think you could do that. And then continue to iterate and ask. And then like go and run the edit mode and let's see it editing the suggestions. You can see what's going on. You've still got that control. And then when you're ready, use agent mode. And now agent mode is the one that's going to take over a little bit and going to do a little bit more of like, it's going to do it for you. And this is where you're going to use your Git and kind of like, make sure that, you're in a clean state, new branch. Okay, now it's going to go ahead and done that. And then just kind of say, wow, that is really cool. That's super basic. And then here's my thing. Install the Playwright MCP server and basically say, verify your work and watch it open the browser and watch it verify that it made those changes and did that cool thing. It should take you no longer than 3 minutes to get the Playwright MCP server up and running. So that's like very easy to do. You should totally do that in VS Code. It's super simple. And I've got lots of videos, so watch that. So yeah, that's where I would start.
Yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't wait too long before moving over to agent, because the killer thing for me is where, like, for example, say Copilot writes some code. If you're just in edit mode or something, then that might not compile or whatever. But in agent mode, the agent will edit the code, try and run .NET Run or .NET Build or whatever, NPM, whatever it is, and look at the compile output. If it's failing, the agent will see it and try and fix it. So it's going to iterate on itself rather than... It's
going to save you so much time.
Yeah, rather than going backwards and forwards, copying and pasting error messages or trying to solve compile errors yourself. The agent can just spin and do it for you while you go and get a coffee or do something else.
Yes, and there's also plan mode now as well. So you can actually just go and get it to plan mode, and then like really go, wow, yeah. And then you can go back to your boss and go, actually, I think we should do this. And then your boss will be like, wow, that's very clever. Go ahead and do it. Then you go ahead and do it. You have your coffee and you just go, I need a pay rise now.
Oh, yeah. I think the problem is because everyone will be using it then, it's kind of like the normal's just going to be more productive. So it's kind of like, whilst at the moment, us using it with, we're super productive and everything. But
Yeah.
the baseline of what normal productivity is just going to jump up. It's still going to be the
For
same.
sure.
It's all just relative, isn't it, really? Just
Yeah.
different tools.
Exactly.
Cool. So before we wrap up, where's the best place? I know you mentioned about the community and stuff on LinkedIn and Discord, but where's the best place for listeners to reach out for you if they've got any questions?
LinkedIn probably is a really good place for questions, I think. But you can find all the details in Debbie.codes, and you can kind of like look at the blog posts I have and videos I have and stuff. And then if you do have questions, then reach out after that. But check all the content I have first, because otherwise you'll ask the questions. I'll be like sharing the blog posts, right?
Debbie.co's the vibe coded website.
Yes. Well, I coded it myself like many years ago, but I just vibe coded on top of it. It's very different.
Well, I saw your Matrix animation this morning that you mentioned
Isn't
before.
it cool?
So
All right,
yeah,
I
very
vibe
cool.
coded that. That's the vibe code. That's Gemini.
Awesome stuff. So with that, thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome geeking out. And thank you for everything you've done on Playwright as well.
Thank you. It's a great community. So if you haven't been using Playwright, you should totally jump in and start using it.
I'll definitely +1 that. Thank you everyone for listening, and a quick reminder that this podcast is sponsored by Everstack, which is my own company providing software development and consultation services. For more information, visit everstack.com. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please do help me spread the word on the socials. I normally use the hashtag #unhandledexception, and all of my socials can be found on danclark.com, which is also a vibe-coded website. And the best place to reach out to me is, well, any of those links on my website or Discord. And all the links to things we've spoken about today, I will put in the show notes, which can be found on unhandledexceptionpodcast.com.